Up next, it's ZenAku versus Effortless. Welcome back to our latest edition, Week 11 of Quake Pro League. In fact, my name's Ketchup, joined by ZSX. We did just see Sparty take the victory over Garpy, and now it's time for our second series of the day. I think a lot of people are in agreement that this, by all means, should be ZenAku's series with just how well he's been playing. But I don't think we give Effortless enough credit for how well he's played this stage as well.
I agree. This is probably my favorite stage from Effortless, if I'm honest. I think he's been putting some really solid performances, and again, he just hasn't maybe had the full results to show for how well he's been playing. But to your point, as he's been having one of his best series, this is also by far ZenAku's best series. He's just managed to find another level in playstyle and in confidence, which go hand in hand to why he's playing so well.
Now, I think confidence could be the magic word here today. I want to give a huge shout out to Cygib yesterday for hosting a 2v2 for North America. That was a lot of fun. And a great opportunity for Effortless to kind of get a little burst of confidence the day before, as it was Effortless and Waz, if I'm not mistaken, that was able to actually win that 2v2 tournament. So I think, hey, look, if you win a tournament and then you have to play your more tournament matches the next day, surely that just has to leave you feeling kind of good. Even if you're going up against ZenAku, who is one of the absolute most improved players at the stage, I'd like to see Effortless do well here.
Yeah, no, I agree. As long as he doesn't take that 2v2 brain into the duel, he should be absolutely fine, because...
Where's the quad?
Yeah, exactly. No, but it's a really good point, and we'll see how it impacts him. He's definitely been looking stronger, happier with his play style, and that shines through in results and in kind of performances as well. I do think ZenAku at the moment is just playing on another level. Somebody that's competing really at the top end of the American leaderboards, and deservedly so. Just seems to have refined everything, doesn't seem to make any mistakes, and that's something that I think Effortless might struggle with. He still does suffer with some over-aggression sometimes, giving away too many frags. And ZenAku is just one of these players that plays so clean and clinical, you cannot afford to have that level of slip up.
Now, on that note, let's take a look at the picks and bans. Our first destination will no doubt be Deep Embrace, the Keel coming out to play Doom again banned. I mean, no one wants to fight Doom on Deep Embrace. That double jump is just far too annoying. But the Ranger coming out from Effortless there. Vale of Nath is going to be our second with Galena and Scalebearer, sorry. I was taking a look at Sorlag because that's the third pick from ZenAku on Awoken. So it's heavies all the way through. This kind of actually reminds me of when we first started seeing ZenAku. He was one of the absolute pioneers of, I guess, a heavy champion enthusiast. He used all of them, and I guess he still does.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a pretty chunky guy myself, so I can respect the heavy picks, and I like to see it and it plays into his playstyle, as you said. When you play as careful as ZenAku and you're not giving away these easy angles and you're playing slow and methodical, when you do decide to make that push, you have a stack to back it up. And so it works so well, and it's incredibly hard to counter, because if you cannot get on top of someone like ZenAku, you cannot chip away at them, and they're holding these strong positions, there's not much you can do to play into them, and you have to play incredibly careful yourself, and you have to connect with all of your shots. And the latter, definitely possible for Effortless. The former, in terms of how careful it can be, it's a little bit hit and miss sometimes. So it's scary seeing that lineup from ZenAku, if I'm honest. We mentioned in the intro for the previous series, Keel's fallen off the meta a little bit, but not for ZenAku. And when he plays slow, as I said, it works very, very well. I love the Ranger pick, though, and he picked that first, so that's what he wants to play. Nice to see. Vale, I think Galena is probably the strongest pick on Vale, but we've seen how powerful the Scalebearer can be, and it's more of a preference thing. If you can get the over stack going, obviously that's when Galena comes into full force. If not, I'm going to have to fail the Scalebearer. And then Awoken, you see heavy versus light, which is always dangerous. Yes, if Athena can get ahead of steam, she can snowball, but I think in terms of a counter, probably the best heavy to pick on Awoken is going to be either Clutch or Sorlag, and he has a Sorlag here, so... Oh, it's a difficult one, but I'm going to have to go 3-0 ZenAku on the picks as well.
I do strongly think that a 3-0 could happen as well. It is one of those things where by no means do I consider this kind of a negative to Effortless. I just think that Effortless has been a bit unfortunate here because, like we said, he has been playing really well this stage. It's just that everyone else is playing well as well. In this exact same side of Americas, you've got Maxter, you've got ZenAku, and I kind of think they have kind of stolen the spotlight in that respect because of how well they've been performing compared to when they began. And Effortless is among those players that is just looking better than he was. It's just that everybody is getting so good now in the Quake Pro League, and you even look at players like Dramis, who has had an extended time away because of an injury, and he's back, and he's still playing really well. Like, it's just, it's inspiring, to be honest. I'm glad to see so many players in Pro League take this opportunity and grabbing it with both hands and becoming the best they can be. As corny as it sounds, we have the first map loading in now.
No, I think your point is valid. I think Effortless has had one of his best stages so far, but he's still sitting in ninth because of what you said. Everyone in the Americas at this point is taking a step up. And, you know, you have people like Maxter, as you said, coming through from challenges who should be, you know, in terms of theoretically sitting down in similar position, riding high up at third and fourth because they're just putting in commanding performances. And as you said, Dramas even coming back and looking in good form, reinvigorated. It's been really entertaining to watch the rise of the Americas, and Effortless still has another layer to go, I think, in his kind of growth in the scene, and obviously doesn't want to be facing in a challenge experience because there are some good people now coming through to challenge that spot.
Now, on that note, our warm-up for Deep Embrace is coming to a close, and that means we're about to get this show on the road for Series 2. ZenAku versus Effortless. We'll kickstart things off now with Effortless point of view. No, ZenAku now. No. Here we...
You have...
We're back. Yo, look, Vale of Nath. That map looks so sick, right? Cool looking. Effortless point of view. I could have got away with just saying that.
Oh, man, trying to backseat produce this catch-up, aren't you? Breaking the broadcast. But we are on...
sorry, transitions are voice activated. The secret's out.
We're over on Effortless, who's already hit a couple of rails, sunk a couple of rails into him from ZenAku, so relegated to the low ground now as Zen has monopolized the high ground. Big stack, got pineapples as well. Timing for Effortless means he can rocket jump across though. Picks that one up. No rail to work with, which is why we see a little bit of a cagey encounter here off the back of that item pickup when they trade.
Now, at this point, by being put so far behind at the beginning, you know your opponent's going to run rings around all the items. You know they're a heavy, and you know ZenAku. So the level of caution you need to display just drastically goes up because any kind of rail, just like that, in fact, puts you from bad to worse. There's a big divide between these items, and the earliest item that spawned, ZenAku is already situated on, and he's pushing forward towards the Mega. That missed rail for Effortless, kind of tragic as he pushes forward to Mega. He knows there's going to be a fight here. Can he get enough damage to challenge and compete with this? That rail. Oh, another rail that's not returned. Effortless, this is going to be a terrible start for him. And he unfortunately concedes.
Shades of Spardy there from ZenAku, connecting with 3 back-to-back nice rails. He's also perfectly in time for this heavy. Somehow they trade. I think that orb did additional burst damage that ZenAku just did not expect. So best of a bad situation for Effortless. Maybe had no right to be there, but there we go. We do trade. We are still on 0-0.
I think as well, actually, fortune for Effortless, where everyone got fragged. They kind of dropped the exact weapons Effortless needed for the next play. Didn't have to go out of his way to get a rocket. Did not have to go out of his way to get a railgun. He kind of set himself up towards LG and land a little bit of free damage, if you will. But again, Heavy is about to spawn. Heavy will spawn before the Dire Orb does, so Effortless has to kind of just use his good old-fashioned movement to get the job done, but he's delaying Heavy. He's making it so the items spawn at the same time. That's an interesting play.
Yeah, it's definitely slightly better for him. It always means he has something to retreat on. Obviously, he doesn't want to be in a situation where ZenAku can just monopolize the map. And at the moment, with trading items, he's got the high ground, but with no rail to work with and no rocket for that matter, ZenAku has to play extremely slow and careful around that. He's got himself one of those 2 weapons, so we'll feel confident enough to take these peaks, but also knows Effortless has all the weaponry. So this is why we see such a cagey encounter here.
More of these rails to open up. These ones are very, very important to land, and actually a bunch more damage than I think Effortless almost should have got from that encounter. ZenAku gets the frag, but he had all of the stack advantage, and Effortless getting as much damage as he could. That was a delicious rail. Straight up vertical, that one. Hey, and he gets it as well. 1-1. Heavy in play. Lovely movement from Effortless as well to steal away that Heavy right as he gets it. We didn't see it, obviously, because we're looking at some ZenAku's point of view still. But that was nice.
Yeah, I'm not actually against this from Effortless. He knows that he has to keep on top of ZenAku's stack, and he has enough confidence in his mechanical capabilities to do the damage he needs to do, and at this point it's working out. As soon as ZenAku misses any source of damage, you can see the aggression come out from Effortless to try and pressure that 1 or 2 seconds advantage he has, and once again trying to use that orb, doesn't connect this time, and ZenAku gets a frag, but at what cost? 10 HP, only a couple of 25s around, so Effortless will want to keep the pressure on here.
Ooh, that flick rail stopped the potential advantage from Effortless. I think Effortless wants to make his presence known here, but that one rail to land that he can't really return in terms of damage means he's got to be careful pushing forward, especially against Keel. You know, it's not just you're dealing with defensive rockets and defensive rail angles, whatever the case is. You've got grenades that could fly out at a moment's notice.
And that's the fine balance. You want to keep on the front foot and keep the pressure on to avoid the situation where ZenAku has this critical mass stack, but if ZenAku connects, it all backfires, and there you go, 2 in a row from Zen. He will take a slightly just aggressive route up, striding on through, but he does get the frag, unreturned damage there as well. One rail coming out, the pineapple bounces, but great air rocket from Effortless, meaning ZenAku has to retreat instantly, get back into his rotation. And you can see here how careful Zen is at all times. Even though he's got Effortless on the back foot, he doesn't want to give away his advantage, doesn't want to give away his stack. Just plays nice and controlled.
And it has been not so much of a combat-heavy map as you are used to seeing on Deep Embrace. And it's kind of like you said, that defensive style of ZenAku coming forward, thanks to the champions he's picking and everything else, kind of working in that favor. If there's a risk that doesn't need to be taken, then you know ZenAku's not going to take it. And that's just been this massive element of that range damage. Right as Effortless puts down that tri-bolt, here comes a rail. Now some decent damage, even on its own. Some bad weapon choices, really, from ZenAku.
Tri-bolt OP, did like 100 damage there on a few bursts, and ZenAku now needs to go back to square one. He's got a 2 frag lead, but this map is ticking away. It could very easily snowball out of control if Effortless gets himself a clean frag, and he's done a good job so far to keep in the game and keep it at 3-1, considering all the pressure that ZenAku's been picking out. But they are trading items. Effortless doing a good job to keeping on to that mega consistently, and that's been a huge lifeline for him. Taking a rail though, he wants to do something, but it's going to be a bit of a risk to try and do it. ZenAku's got this locked down.
More of these rails coming out. I know that his rail has been fantastic for the most part, but there are a couple of misses that just kind of have me clenching a little bit in my seat, I will admit. ZenAku, you know, he's been known for playing really patient and careful. There's been a couple of moments where he's been out in the open and he's still taking these rail fights as Effortless is peppering out that tri-bolt damage. I've got to respect the confidence and I guess believing in his own aim, but a couple of frags ago that easily could have gone not his way. However now, massive stack advantage still, even more so as the heavy gets soaked up. And Effortless, once more, he's playing strong positions, to be fair, getting these kind of like, I like the use of the LG, knowing that ZenAku is playing this rail game, so if you miss a rail shot and you've got LG out against Kill, you're gonna get a bunch of damage, but it's just not enough.
Yeah, he tries to take the initiative there as Zen was pressuring across to that mega, but Effortless gets away, losing the frag and losing the item, and now with such a big split between the 2 major items, Zen definitely has it in his locker to just clamp down on this map, continue to rotate both items and give Effortless no room to breathe. And Effortless is going to have to find something to turn this map around, because with 2.5 minutes to go, he needs a frag and he needs it now.
Oh! Right as the rocket jump. That's not the first time we've seen a rail into rocket jump lead to slightly different movement than I think the user was expecting. Not that it's as pivotal as it was in Awoken when Sparty hit his head. Oh, there's the aggressive orb though, and unfortunately that is not going to work out for Effortless. Decent amount of damage. Wow, somehow that super shotgun does not kill. But good thing for ZenAku, who was able to get the frag anyway.
Lovely read by ZenAku. At least got himself a single item there, and at this point, Effortless is going to have to keep going on the aggressive. There's only 2 minutes to go. He needs to get up 5 frags. It's still possible. It's definitely still possible, but Zen, he's got him on a bit of a leash at this point. He's reading Effortless, he's kiting him, and every time Effortless makes a move, he's always eating damage in return. So, how's he going to twist this one up?
Liking the position here from ZenAku as well. It's just kind of sitting on the lower grounds where at the very least you don't have a lot of items to control, but you've got a lot of audio information. And just using that to listen out for how to play around Effortless, kind of avoid him, go back into the defensive play. Because, I mean, look, Keel, if he's down south, a lot of champions would in theory be at risk down there, but he has so much areas he can deny and spam, really, that if you go down to chase him, it's a risk.
And that's why it's so interesting watching this culmination from ZenAku's pod, because you can see Effortless trying to find a way in to break the defenses of ZenAku, but he's always the one with a position advantage. He's always the one, as you said, using those audio cues slightly better, so that by the time that Effortless even sees his opponent, he's eating a rail in return. And that's why ZenAku's had such great success all season long. It's just the way he's able to manage the tempo, play positionally, and he's obviously got this map in the bag, and it shows time and time again how effective that can be if you play this nice, calculated style.
So the GGs do roll out already. Obviously this map is done and ZenAku will take it. It was a lot closer at the beginning, but the moment ZenAku almost locked in that defensive play, it was almost the immovable object for Effortless to try and deal with, I suppose. You're trying to look for other words to describe it, and there are none. Effortless was not able to break into the defense, and it just, the frags, piece by piece, just trickled away to the point where a 9-1. The first half of this map, I think we hit the 5-minute warning, and we had like 4 frags, I think, in total. Significantly different now.
Yeah, and it feels like I don't know how it got to this point, you know, but it was just such a calm performance from ZenAku, and it shows why he picks these heavy champions, because he just doesn't take unnecessary damage, which makes him extremely scary. When he wants to commit, he has that stack to back him up. So perfectly played by ZenAku.
Can't agree more, really. But it does beg the question of how the other maps will go, because the champions will be quite different. There's been a lot of meta picks across the board here, so it's kind of hard to tell. But what we do know is that ZenAku is going with these heavies in all 3 maps. And if he uses the heavies to establish this defensive game, it was difficult for Effortless to deal with in map 1. If that continues, one would think it would just continue to be difficult, right? Because Scale Bearer on Vale, he has that oppressive nature, but he's also got that movement. Movement that you never expect him to go as fast as he does, but with so many kind of tight twists and turns that Vale has, and the fact that you don't even need to be strafe jumping with the champion. If you're going fast enough, you can just steer yourself and he's still fast. And he can still come around that corner or whatever it is. Like, this is going to be advantage ZenAku again, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that think Elena is probably the strongest champion, but there is really a kind of a knife's edge in between the difference between these two. We've seen people like Maxter pushing the limits of what Scalebearer is capable of. Rafa as well, obviously, on a map like Vale. If you get caught up on that high ground, it's just one corridor for a bull rush, and then you're pretty much dead. Out the TP, whatever it is. You also have little shenanigans that make picking up the heavy, which should be a very dangerous task, pretty easy and almost risk-free. You know, when you're kind of circling around at max speed and just scuttling across, you can pick up that item. So he comes with great effectiveness. Obviously, Galena has a lot of utility in terms of totems. You can get overstack fairly easy on that map, and that means you can play around those lights, which there's quite a lot of. I think there's obviously 3 on this map. So there's different, or 4 should I say, sorry. There's different utility for both of them here. I favor Scalebearer. I think it's a little bit of a lower risk. It's easier to execute, and you've always got the fail-safe of having a bigger stack, unless they overstacks up. So I'm going to edge it again to ZenAku on the pick. I'm going to edge it to ZenAku just on overall performance.
I'll be keeping a close eye on how this map begins. If ZenAku is able to pretty much lock in that defensive play, as we very much saw on Deep Embrace. It took a lot longer, I think, for him to reach that point. It did take a good 5 minutes for him to get it. He did try to offset those items, and Effortless did a good job of really making his presence known on them and stealing away a couple of them. So it was hard to get that cycle working, I guess. But if we have a beginning here and ZenAku hits some really nice rails, or he just catches Effortless around a corner, whatever it is that can happen and has happened on Vale of Nath, I'll be a little bit worried for Effortless. But on the opposite end of it, I'd love to see him be able to lock it in himself. One of the main reasons people like Galena is because there's lots of things to take on the map to get yourself nice and healthy, but then she has that totem, the denial or the free damage you take on those teleporters. One of the many elements that you're against a chunky champion, you can keep yourself a lot more stacked than one would think because of the totems alone. So we'll see how it goes, really. We're about to load in right now.
But if you look at the context of the way this map is played, I think from a spectator point of view, it can often look like this is a extremely combat-heavy map where it favors people that play that frantic playstyle. But if you look in the kind of history of the QPL, the best performers on a map like Vale are the people that have that capability to manage that chaos. You have people like Base and Shane who are specialists on a map like Vale, who play this calculated, methodical style. They understand the angles, they understand how to play defensive, and that's the best players on this map, and that's something that I think favors ZenAku again. And that's what I really enjoyed seeing just on the previous map alone. He didn't feel the need to assert himself and to control both major items, which is quite risky in its own right. He was quite happy to play slow and calm and calculated and play around Effortless. So the way he kind of molded his playstyle on that map to what Effortless was doing, if he can continue to do that on Vale, it's even scarier.
As we now begin. Effortless actually getting that Mega side spawned, which not too bad for a Galena, seeing as you can drop down the totem and then pick up Mega, shave off a fair amount of that cooldown already. But in classic fashion, lovely rocket jump to save himself. Oh! Bit of a sneaky maneuver, but again, one of those positions where, you know, we talked about it earlier, didn't we, Dan? Scale Bearer's there, and there's not much you can do about it.
And this is not the start you want if you're an Effortless fanboy. 2-0 within 15-20 seconds. And he also found a hidden ledge that I was unaware of, so that's pretty cool as well.
I kind of almost think that ZenAku might have been slightly unaware of it as well, because he was almost like, where did he go? I'm sure he should have landed by now. A huge divide between these items though, Dan. Significant, and kind of feeding into the whole not a good start, because if ZenAku's able to get this heavy, so much time that he can then put himself towards Mega as well. Effortless will try and deny this, but he cannot. And as he spawns on the lower levels, what does he do to shut down this Mega? He actually jumps down to challenge, and he completely gives it up to do so. That is not a good beginning. A minute on the board, 4 frags already gone. Ouchie!
Yeah, this is not good, and with every one of these encounters, ZenAku's also sweeping up all of the lights as well, because absorbing that damage means he can restock before Effortless really knows what's hit him. 4-0, got both items on lockdown. Effortless without a fortress of totems to fall back on as well. He's contesting his Mega again. This time he will be winning it. ZenAku retreats, but hits a rail. It's a trade, so not too bad for Effortless. ZenAku has position to fall back onto these lights.
And the perfect timing on the items to know that he's got a year and a day to pick it all up before the heavy spawns. And just in time for Bull Rush, looking for the rail. If anything, he now knows he can at least just move towards heavy. He's not looking for damage there, he's not looking for a shot, he's just looking to know that Effortless isn't there. And putting himself towards Mega. I do fear though, because this is Scale Bearer we're talking about. The rocket damage is okay. And hang on, the defensive rails from Effortless are fantastic. The Bull Rush used right here just to be low. If you come around the corner, there would have been that damage reduction. Effortless is going to push forward again. A weak Scale Bearer indeed. And he can't afford it. He takes the light away, and I guess that looked a little bit tactical. Was that tactical? He said lol, I don't think so.
I don't think it was. I think he actually fell
normally,
into the
Dan,
acid.
I want to give players benefit of the doubt, but Effortless typing lol in chat kind of just, I've got nothing to work with.
This already feels reminiscent of Deep, where we have ZenAku controlling the heavy area, Effortless playing around this Mega. Mega not, I mean, it's not the best item for Galena if you do get the other stack, obviously, but I mean, it's better than none. And this continued trade is not the best for Effortless. Needs to be a bit more proactive to get on top of ZenAku's stack. For example, that is a good rail, but there's 4 frags already the buffer. Effortless is the one that obviously has to go on the aggressive.
A major combo,
Yikes.
3-piece with fries. And that's a thank you very much, man.
And that's what I was talking about. That upper ground is Scale Bearer territory. You just don't want to be there if he has the Bull Rush out. Effortless trying to melt him, but the stack is once again too much ketchup.
ZenAku's tracking on that LG was absolutely glorious as he drops down. And ZenAku forcing himself right around that corner, knowing that a fight with Effortless was likely. Doesn't quite manage to really get anything from it. What he has done is kept Effortless weak again. Heavy gets picked up. The LG knocks him off kilter, which means that Effortless ran the risk of taking a bit more damage than he was expecting.
Well,
ZenAku keeping that delay.
Also one in the Mega as well. So that's actually a pretty good lick of damage. He also gets caught in the corridor, bounced away. Oh no.
Oh! That is one of the most glorious movement combos I've ever seen.
Do you want
I am
fries
the
with
projectile.
That? Oh man, this is a value combo for ZenAku at this point as he gets frag after frag after frag.
More of the rocket damage to open. ZenAku looking for some bonus rail damage. Oh, that direct rocket knocks him into the point of death. Can't quite land the rail, but Effortless still a death sentence the moment he goes up that jump pad. Not that it was his choice to make 93 damage on the tri-ball. What is going on here, Dan? An absolute one-sided affair.
This could turn into a yikes really quickly. 5 minutes gone. 12 to 2. 12 to 30 to 2. Oh, and I've never seen ZenAku look any more serious than he has done now. Not even a flinch of emotion 5 minutes into this game.
It's one of the scariest players you can encounter that very much, I think, in the face of a map that is done. I do not see any reality where Effortless is able to win this. That ZenAku would take his foot off the gas, right? It's keeping that intensity. It's a level of, I think, focus that you don't see from a lot of people. You know, it's the likes of Rafa, very famous for that, where up until the job is done, it is stone cold gaze. We put as much concentration into the map until that 10-minute runs down. And ZenAku, I see elements of that right now. Not even a smirk, man. You LG someone and you just walk right into them. Oh,
Oh my god. No way. Alright, that's a pretty impressive frag, not gonna lie. He's got the overstack up as well, finally, 6 minutes into the game. That's obviously a big reason for that frag. Is there a comeback potential? No, I'm not gonna say so.
I think you're a glass half empty man, Dan, but so am I. At this point, I just look at the fact that, again, I know it's like slightly different now, you know, latest patch and everything, but it's still heavy. The heavy champion is still going to spawn in a position where they can move around and just bulk up.
Exactly, yeah. Plus the fact he's just playing better anyway.
Oh, not again!
No. The reads, man.
Looking a bit like a rerun to me, ZSX. That's now 2 times that ZenAku has got pretty much a max damage tri-bolt, punishing that missed rail, and even if the rail landed, might still not have been enough. But now, as we almost saw Garpy versus Sparty, this is going to be a map of just trying to get some frags on the board, maybe chain a couple together, keep your hands nice and limber, and just do not let ZenAku be the only one that's scoring frags in the final 3 minutes, because as we go into that final map, it's going to be miserable.
I was about to say, can we see a Garpy-esque resurgence from Effortless here? Bring it back to a 2-1.
I mean, we were saying the same thing in Series 1. It could happen again.
I mean, it could. The answer is, was it? I think ZenAku's playing at a slightly higher level than Sparty at this point, but then Effortless is also playing at probably a slightly higher level than Garpy was as well. So we will see. But this map's been obviously pretty brutal. It's good to see Effortless actually still smiling in it and doesn't seem too triggered, which is always a plus. He's got a few frags on the board as well, more than Garpy was getting up against Sparty earlier today. And he's still trying to get a few more in return here as the big man is scuttling himself away with those sandals on fire. And I mean, look how hard he had to fight to get that. But 16 to 6, 2 minutes to go. This map's obviously over, and we look towards map 3.
Another beautiful rail shot once again, and this isn't going to be about really looking at the items at all. If the opportunity arises, I'm sure he'll take it. But ZenAku is just looking to fight now. You know, any amount of frags you can build on just makes it the guaranteed loss even more guaranteed, because there is nothing. ZenAku could, in theory, kind of just about sit still every frag at this point, delay those spawns and all that. But a minute and a half left to go as Effortless is just going to try and get as many frags as he can, I think. You know, we just need to keep ourselves nice and ready for that final map. And like you said, hopefully we see kind of a Garpy situation repeat where that final map goes into the hands of Effortless, because these 2 maps have been brutal.
Yeah, I think map 1 less so in terms of scoreline, but in reality, the way that played out, I'm sure from Effortless' point of view, he felt relatively useless. It was very much controlled by Zen. This one, obviously, a lot more obvious in terms of a manhandling from ZenAku's perspective, and it spiraled out of control very quickly. Effortless, unfortunately, didn't have the right game plan to go up against a scale bearer, and then obviously ZenAku was connecting with more shots maybe than Effortless was counting on, but either way, it was not the right game plan, and plan B came way too late. So I'm sure ZenAku had a good time playing this map, even though his expressions don't show that. And the frags continue to fly on through.
That was a rather tasty little 2-piece. And we get one more for the road. At this stage, ZenAku able to get himself over 21 frags. Being able to get over 20 frags in a duel is already an impressive feat, no matter what, really. And ZenAku, the almost bully-like nature of the scale bearer on this map. That's 2 for 2, that these heavy picks and the game plan coming in perfectly, just shy of. And now we have map 3, Athena. Ooh, Athena versus Sorlag. Now I know that Athena does have almost unrivaled mobility on this map. Let me quickly take my glasses off because I forgot to do that. But this is the first time today we've had the heavies being as prominent as they are for ZenAku, but now he's against a light. So I'm kind of nervous.
I think the last time I saw, no, I don't think it was this exact matchup, but I think I saw an Athena against a heavy on Awoken with Effortless. He did prove me wrong, but in the way these two maps have played out, I still have to favor ZenAku going into it. This map played out as we expected. ZenAku using the stack to bully his opponent, but I think what was unexpected is just how proficient he was with all the weaponry in this map. It looked just spectacular start to finish. Effortless put in some good fights himself. There we go.
Okay.
Some good fights
Not
himself,
tactical.
but it just wasn't enough. And I do feel going into map 3, unless he pulls something unbelievable out the bag strategically and connects with everything, it's going to be more of the same.
But let's be optimistic in this one, because it did in fact happen with Garpy less than an hour ago. We were saying the exact same thing. We were talking about how Sparty had those 2 dominant victories, especially on that second map. Kind of go figure, the same thing has happened here. Will history repeat itself an hour later? That begs the question. But Athena, let's kind of talk about the potential positives of how this could happen. You are going up against a Sorlag. You know this champion's going to have the stack and the mobility. Sorlag is extremely viable on Awoken, especially in the hands of someone like ZenAku anyway, but Effortless is going to be a lot more slippery, and he is going to be a lot harder to pin down. There were a couple of instances there for ZenAku, although his rail accuracy, 57%, not too shabby. As the map went on, it almost feels like he put less almost focus onto those rails. I spent a lot of the map watching it through his point of view, and there were a fair few rails there that just didn't hit their mark. A lot of the accuracy in those big moments came from the first half. Now, whether that was just him not... The map was done, right? It was an early point, the map was pretty much done, and maybe that had a factor in that, or maybe the aim was starting to slip up a little bit. And if we're going into this next map and the rails aren't on point, you're going up against an Athena who is just ziplining here, there, and everywhere. She's one of the hardest champions to hit. Not just because she's a light, but because she just has this instant reposition factor, where part of hitting a good shot on someone is getting good reads on their movement and everything else. And when she can just zip around, that read kind of goes out of the window.
Yeah, I do think that the rail will be less important from a ZenAku perspective. I mean, rail's always going to be important, but the key to victory here is going to be closing the gap, getting in close and personal with the Athena, using the rockets, using the lightning gun as well, and really getting on top of those major items. And ZenAku has the speed and mindset to be able to do that, so it's up to Effortless to be able to counter that reposition and use him using the rail more effectively. That's going to be his key to victory.
On that note, oh, Effortless with a double steal! That is an absolutely beautiful map start. The finishing touches would just be if he can land the finishing blow, and he can. That is a perfect start and perfectly executed.
All right, there you go. There's a start you want. Good recognition from Effortless to be able to do that. Getting the heavy, zipping across, seeing it's already up. So really smart playing, catching ZenAku unawares, but he's too late for the heavy. A little bit of a slip up there, but trading it for the Mega, not the worst. And ZenAku without the rail won't be pressing in too far until he gets it, and there we go.
Now, a great start from Effortless. Question is, can he keep this pace? A defensive rocket already, not too shabby there from ZenAku, but we can see the higher ground being already established here by Effortless, and he wants to fight for this heavy. He does not want to give ZenAku too much stack. I like that he had that light, able to retreat to it. You take this heavy, fine. We'll use the speed, but another beautiful rail, one that ZenAku cannot get back to back. Effortless taking these rail fights because he knows, right? If I keep having these shots missed against me, then I may as well see if I can return it. Unfortunately, neither player really hit anything there.
No, but you can see Effortless coming up worse here as ZenAku is making his way around the map to the mid-ground. Very good and very carefully at that. Again, no angles for Effortless to do any sort of damage whatsoever. He's now the one on the ropes. ZenAku going to rocket jump across, get himself both major items, and now Effortless is in for a world of pain because here comes the Lizard.
Full speed ahead. Some decent LG damage, considering the circumstances, but ZenAku will still be able to just straight up outstack in that situation. As our next major item, the heavy, of which you would think maybe Effortless is in position for, but he's weak. And just the existence of being a light champion when I say weak. But it seems like ZenAku's happy to concede it for now.
Yeah, but he knows he's got this mega to fall back on, which he does take, and Effortless trying to take a fight here, but he's taking so much damage. ZenAku pushing on in, and Athena just can't get away, and this is the trouble. And this is why the Sorlag is so strong against someone like an Athena, because he has the speed to continue to chase her. And the Acid is also really impactful against Lights, because every single tick just does so much damage relative to their stack.
That's a painful rail to miss. Effortless, he knows that ZenAku is, like, of course he's going to take the light.
What?
Never mind, though. Gets the kill that he's looking for there. I was worried for him the second he missed that rail, because he was so devastatingly weak, but he's able to pick it up all the same. Unfortunately, finds ZenAku point blank, gets a ton of LG damage, not enough to get the killing rail, though.
To your point,
This has been such an absolute back and forth of just movement alone. The amount of close range encounters we're seeing here.
But that's partly because Effortless isn't connected with as many rails he needs to be, and this is what we said in the intro. ZenAku just wants to get into his face, and that's what he's doing. Effortless is missing a couple of rails, but also ZenAku, as we know, is not making it easy. You can see his pathing, his awareness of Effortless's positioning, and he's playing around that. When he knows Effortless makes a move, he just goes away that's safe for him, and it manages to get up into his face, and that just makes Athena's life so problematic.
Oh no!
Oh, no,
yeah, that's just a accept your fate right there.
Right.
Caught trying to escape. You actually don't see that happen to Athena all that often. Oh dear.
And this is where the map can begin to spiral now. Zen's got both items. Effortless going to try and take this positioning once again for an LG fight, but nope, the shotgun comes out and gets deleted. Doubles back round towards this rail. He knows this is what Effortless wants, and without that, I mean, he's playing a losing game, to put it politely. He comes in aggressively here. Big rocket coming out, and he's already got a rail, in fact. Nice connection there. Doesn't hit the second, though. Zen wants this item, wants to do some damage. Doesn't either. Can he get out? No, but he did so much damage.
That was an unbelievable amount of damage in such a short space of time there. Effortless. The longer this map is going on, one of the elements too is that this grappling hook, it's being used defensively all the time. You know, upper jump pad, teleport, or whatever it is, a situation where you just want to shut down a free shot from ZenAku. It just means that you're not really getting much use out of it, I suppose. However, oh dear, that hurts. Effortless gets the mega, which is better than nothing, but without armor, ZenAku is going to be eagerly just as hungry. Equally is the word.
Yeah, and apart from the start of this game, it does feel that the utility of Athena has been pretty much null and void. Barely seen any grapples coming out in combat, using them just to get away. Once again, using it to get away. This time he gets away cleanly, but here comes ZenAku cutting off the angle to the mega. So once again, wins himself that item, and he just continues to pick up at least one item at a time. And Effortless, unable to do damage on it, just means he has to hide and try and pick out some cheeky rail angles. But look at Zen. He's the one picking the cheeky rail angles.
Now, unfortunately, there has been some rather visible frustration from Effortless's point of view when watching it through a lot of the map. I do think the way some of these frags have gone has just... And kind of like that one, maybe!
Insane.
Oh, I think a couple of things in this map are bothering him, and that one hurts.
But that's
almost
the type
ironic
of move,
to be talking about it right there.
That's the type of move that really epitomizes his progression in QPR. It's the type of move he probably knows he could have done in stage 1 or 2, but you didn't have the confidence to execute. And so when you just get onto this level where you know your game, you're feeling your game, You just make all of these type of moves instinctively. And that's the level Zen's playing at now. It's the kind of level we saw Wenger getting to in his recent finals, where he's just playing so much quicker than we've seen in the past that it just makes his opponent's life a misery. He's not stopping to think about what he's doing. He just knows what he has to do.
Now for another time, Mega's in play, but Effortless does not want to take it. He'll take it a little bit later, but the problem is, you've been taking Mega now. Great, so what? One rail and the armor's gone, and then what do? ZenAku has been sitting on this heavy all map long.
Yep.
He's even got more of the light armors.
And then
Effortless goes for defensive rocket and he shoots a wall by mistake. This has not been his map, folks.
No, started off so brilliantly, but again, execution let him down a little bit. But just the way ZenAku's playing puts the pressure on Effortless and forces mistakes, forces these overcommittals, and he's not... Okay. I mean, I was about to say he's not found a way to even get on the map, but there's one way. He just bullies his way in. But you just got to credit Zen all the way he's playing. Effortless, I thought, put in, again, a decent map, but Zen's the one that set the tempo. He's been playing faster. He's been more clinical. And this is why he's sitting at the top of the leaderboard. And unfortunately for Effortless, he's sitting down the lower end.
Another one of those times where we can talk about ZenAku. This has kind of been another day in the office for him. An opportunity to show us kind of his progression as a player in terms of just his level of dominance on the map. And accuracy too. It's not been too shabby. Effortless has just struggled so much every map to just crack into ZenAku's stack. And this has just been a masterclass on heavies as far as I'm concerned.
Heavies OP. I mean, I always feel more confident in the opponent that generally picks the heavies. I think you can make lights work. They're a much riskier pick, and when they work, they look sensational. But playing a heavy just gives you a lot more. It's just less risky, to put it bluntly. And we've seen that from ZenAku today. That if you play that style, play safe, and you connect with your shots, makes your opponent's life extremely hard. So I credit Effortless for having the balls to pick a theater. It didn't work out, unfortunately.
There's always confidence in his own abilities when you see it in the match itself, right? He said so many times about going on the further grind, you know, trying to progress his game plan. I mean, he has had a successful weekend in community. I want to give Sygib another shout out for that 2v2. Effortless and Waz were able to win that yesterday against some stiff competition. So clearly, you know, Effortless, this guy knows how to play a serious game of Quake. It's just that today against the likes of ZenAku, it's almost fitting of these are two improved players, but ZenAku just looks to be a bit more improved, and that's all there is to it. 3-0 was the expected result, maybe not in this fashion. I do feel bad for him in this third map, though. This has just been a string of disasters. Some good ideas, but ones that didn't work.
Yeah, true. But a lot of that was definitely enforced by the way ZenAku's playing. The speed he's playing at, the depthness of his mechanical and mental skills. So, as you said, probably tied between him and Maxter as to who's the most improved player, but he is definitely worthy of winning that title, if anything. And again, showing us that the way he gets to the latter stages of the tournaments is, again, it's not a fluke. He's continuing to progress. So full credit to this performance today. It was really good to watch.
And the GGs roll out, as this will be the end of our second series of the day. ZenAku securing himself a 3-0 on Effortless. Effortless, it probably doesn't feel good to concede a 3-0 anyway, but I do feel bad for him on that map because just so much went wrong. It was a combination of ZenAku kind of playing the game I think we all expected him to play there. Sorlag on Awoken, he just did it phenomenally well. But then at the same time, I spent a lot of that map watching it through Effortless's point of view, and there were a lot of amazing ideas that just a small error or a small thing that just goes wrong and the whole thing just goes down the toilet. He spawns again and it's visible frustration. You know, he's trying to just shake it off and go straight into the next play. And then that goes wrong as well. I mean, poor guy, to be honest.
Effortless wants to play front foot Quake, and I enjoy that. I think it's admirable. That's the way I like to play, but there is also a time and a place where you have to play the slightly more boring, calculated style of Quake. You know, the ones that we often credit base for. He's a player that would pick a theater here and play very slow and use utility a lot more strategically. And again, that might not be the way he likes to play, but it's a way he's going to have to learn, because when things don't go in his favor, as it wasn't today, that's the type of play style you're going to have to retreat to. If your opponent's hitting all of their shots, they're playing fast, playing aggressive, and you're just not connecting, you have to have that plan B to retreat into, and we just haven't seen that enough from Effortless. But again, I thought he put in a decent performance. ZenAku is just playing at a slightly better level recently.
And I'm excited to see where a player like ZenAku can go, as we are not too far away from the Stage 3 finals, are we? ZenAku's had plenty of matches to showcase how far he's grown as a player. This has been a phenomenal stage for him. And wow, it's not a lot of time left until we get to see that next major challenge, right? You know, QuakeCon at home, stone's throw away, really. We're all going to be playing a lot of Quake, and these players are no exception.
And you know what? I'm sure there's a lot of people, particularly in EU, actually looking at a ZenAku and thinking, I don't really want to be matched up against you. I think we've seen in the last few finals, there's been people that aren't the bigger names in the scene getting these victories over the more established people in the rankings, that maybe even higher up in the rankings than them, because they have a better tournament setting and maybe they've been taken for granted for. I think ZenAku's not going in as an undercard anymore, but there's definitely someone's cage that's going to get rattled by him in the next finals, I'm sure of that.
That's where things change, though. And this is my, I think, both most curious element of ZenAku and Maxter, because they were two players that took everyone by surprise. And I would think there's almost a part of your mind that goes into the direction of, were they underestimated? Were people looking at them in a bracket and thinking, oh, I should be fine to win this. I'll just play my game. I'll play solidly. I'll get the job done. Because that does happen. There are certain players that I think look at a path and there are key opponents that they'll focus on more than others because they're just confident they'll beat other players. That could have had a part of Maxter and ZenAku being these surprise smash hits when we saw them last time. But now that changes. They're going into a stage finals where we all know how good they are. And now everyone will be preparing for them. You know, what happens then? There's so many different elements to this setting that excites me as a commentator, because it's just storylines all over the damn place. But we're going to go to another break. We have our third series to prepare for. About 5 minutes or so, we'll be back with more Quake Pro League. See you in a few minutes' time.